condense it.
Thank you very much, Madam Witness. And please accept our empathy with you for the terrible experiences you went through. It is true that during a conflict, people like you suffered grave cruelty, humiliation, and all sorts of degrading treatment. We admire your courage to come forward and speak. As you have spoken, please understand you are speaking for 1,000 other women who went through similar degrading experiences during the course of our conflict. Today, there is a very serious campaign to break the silence around violence against women, whether during a conflict, in our homes, or at the work site. And you've taken a step forward to support that great movement. We are sorry that these things happen to our sisters, our mothers. From statistics gathered by the UN, almost 98% of women who were in Liberia during the period of the conflict suffered one form of abuse or another, irrespective of age, irrespective of religion, irrespective of convictions, irrespective of ethnicity. As if it was a massive movement to degrade the women of Liberia. But we are immensely grateful that you could join others to come and share these experiences with us, which in so many ways contribute to the work we've been charged to execute. So say thank you, and I presume that's your husband? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I know Mr. Va one way or another. We want to say thank you for coming to give her this support. In all of our travels around the country, we've heard of different scenarios where some men refuse to support their spouses, others will give support, others will run away, others will take revenge, and all of that. But as you said, God alone knows why all of us are still alive. Not that we are better than those who have gone, but He has His own purpose. So thanks for coming. We'll ask you a couple of questions, maybe to throw further light on what you have said, or just to clarify, so that we have a complete record of what happened. Commissioner Connor is leaving to honor religious obligations. I hope you understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to hear your testimony before leaving. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Witness, for coming to share your experience with us today. And we say sorry for what happened to you. Mm-hmm. And thank you too for taking the first step to speak. Because what you're doing now, you're speaking for 1,000 other women who are unable to come today because of what happened to them, either because they are no longer alive or they don't have the opportunity. And you talk about a lady, a Ghanaian lady that was killed and her child. Do you remember the name of the lady and the child?
I met her that day when we got arrested, and she died the same day, and there was no communication. I was worried about when I would die and how I would die. She was worried over hers, and so there was no time for introduction, but we only met on the van to death. I remember a few other people who died in prison, their names. They were mobbed, and...
You talk about the journalists you met in Banga in the prison, two Nigerian journalists.
Yeah.
What happened to them?
Well, we left them there. We met them there and left them there.
And you said why in Banga, Agnes Taylor, the wife of Taylor at the time, was the one that was able to release you from prison. Mm-hmm. What mood did you meet Agnes Taylor in? Because there were rumors that Agnes Taylor participated. Did you see her in any uniform or?
Well, when she came to prison that day to release us, she was dressed in fatigue. She was dressed in fatigue from top to bottom.
And the lady that tied you, one of the fighter, a lady who tied you in the morning and said that they had to tie you to the same place again because if they don't do that, it means that you didn't sleep in the tabi. What's her name again?
Don't know her name.
Thank you again for coming. I will say sorry. Thank you for taking the courage to come out. Because until we can speak about the ills in society, they will always continue to happen. Thank you for coming.
Good afternoon, is it morning or afternoon? Whatever. Thanks for coming again. And let me join my colleagues in extending our sorrow for what you've been through. I have just a few short questions for you. You refer to one, is it Samuel Varney you were referring to?
No. Oliver
Oh,
Varney.
Oliver Varney.
Samuel Varney was on Prince Johnson.
Was his
base.
brother,
I've
yes.
never seen him, but
Okay.
Oliver, I guess
So-
they're related.
Okay, so
I know
Oliver
he
Varney
a little
was,
bit of Oliver.
so Oliver
Samuel.
Varney was the one. Okay. And you also mentioned Sam Dixon and
Yeah.
One Man One. Did you hear or see at any time whether Ziza Maza and also Bari, were they with that group in that area?
What is his name?
Ziza Master.
I don't think I know that. I don't think I've heard that name.
They were also active in our area at one point.
They were in that area too?
Okay. What's about Bari? You ever heard he was there or? did you
Bari?
see- Yeah.
No. Where from? I actually went to prison right from the car, so.
When you started your testimony, you mentioned the date. Can you please repeat it for me? I didn't get the
I said
year.
November 23rd, about 2 to 3 o'clock in the
Which
afternoon.
year was that?
That's why I said the first ceasefire. That's the year I don't remember.
Okay.
The very first ceasefire.
Okay.
I'm sure history
And-
will course.
Besides Oliver Varney and Sam Dixon, whose name you remember, do you remember the names of any of your other torturers?
There was Moluba, the one that drove us to Banga.
Do you know his full name?
Oh God, I don't remember his whole name. There was another assistant to Oliver, but Maya or Macy or something, but I don't remember his name. Maya or something. He was the assistant to Oliver. But we barely saw him. We just hear he was in a meeting with them, but he would not come to, he was not a kind that would come to the jailhouse or stuff like that, you know. And I guess you were one of those who was pushing our execution. And I don't know for what reason, God's grace, Oliver, who was notorious in killing, was the one that was stopping it. So that has to be a miracle from God.
Okay. Do you know, besides Oliver Varney, who was the commander, do you know if he had any other person in the rebel group higher than him at the time?
Come again?
Oliver Varney, do you know if he had any other rebel boss, someone who was higher than him?
No, Oliver was the highest then in that whole area. I think Maya was next to him. The name is Maya.
Maya?
Yeah, but I've forgotten his first name. If they go into history, I'm sure they will get his name out.
Okay. And these were all rebels of the NPFL?
Sure.
At that time, you know which rebel group shared the border with them? Between,
Nope, there was no sharing of border. Only NPFL was there at the time.
and ECOMog? was in the Monrovia area.
ECOMOG had not reached Water at the time we were arrested. ECOMOG had not even crossed what ECOMOG do? Poor River.
Okay.
Sorry, I keep talking.
So who shared the border? Who shared the border with Poor River and the NPFL?
ECOMOG was at Poor River, for Monrovia.
Okay.
So NPFL from Poor River all the way behind, extended to Water and Lofa, and you name it. The two Sierra Leone borders. What's that?
So by then there was no UNIMO yet?
Foya and yeah, they were all on Oliver.
So there was no UNIMO yet by then?
Nope, absolutely no.
All right. Since your ordeal, were you able to get proper medical attention and also psychological help for the extreme trauma you went through?
I got proper medical attention and psychological help from this book, and it's carrying me through though.
My last question. What would be your expectation of this TRC process?
Thank you very much. I've long waited for this question. I don't expect you to work miracle, but I do expect you to try harder as you're trying. Not to just come and make a mockery of myself and tell the people I was juked with spoon, and I saw a woman's mob, and I saw Vani mob, and I saw a Sierra Leone, just to name these people who are supposed to be resting in peace. This little boy who was mobbed with his foot elevated, a 4-year-old. But if we just tried to go to other countries that have been in civil war before and ask them how they are keeping their peace. From us hearing every day that this pastor was killed because somebody tried to trick him, it's going to help us. Because I may be well right now because I'm not in the environment. It happened to me. So I'm not being placed into that memory lane. But there are other people who are still walking the face of the disaster. They're still in the same villages. They're still seeing the areas their parents were killed. They're still seeing the areas their brothers were killed. And they lived in a day-to-day with hardship even added to it. If the Liberian people that God has placed Liberia into their hand could just use the Bible, use others' example to try to stop. I'm not accusing anybody. God knows that whether we believe it or not, some wars are ordained from God, from the things we do or not, we don't know. But we need to learn from other people's experience to bring Liberia back to where she belongs. Tolerating the things we used to do before will not help us. You know who am I? Corruption is not going to stop the boys from killing. They're going to remain in poverty and continue to kill us. We got to do everything we can by learning from neighboring countries. I'm sure Nigeria was in war. She may not be perfect now, but she's getting there. Ghana was in war. She may not be perfect now, but she's getting there. If we put our pride down and go to these people and ask them and see the examples and try to deal with Liberia the best way we can. If it means iron hand, we have to do it to stop the atrocity, to stop the corruption, to stop the manhandling of people. That will help. That will help. Then we know Liberia going somewhere. They predicted that we're going to be 150 years back from our war. Whoever predicted it know themselves, and we're trying to prove it by living in it. We've got to prove them wrong. The other African countries went through this and they proved them wrong. We can't keep acting like babies as Liberians. We cannot continue to be babies. We've got to get up and fight for ourselves. We've got to do what it takes. During the war, we live in total breakdown of law and order. The war is over. We can't continue to live in breakdown of law and order.
Thank you, Mrs. Blah.
Mary,
Yeah, ma.
thank you so much for coming. As you were talking, I really felt for you, because out of the duty to your mother, you decided to come into your own country to take your mother away, and only to be put through a whole lot of things. I saw myself in that same situation when I was being tortured at one time, and my husband was right there, and he couldn't say a word. And so when you say your whole village that even knew you, Kwame County that is so small that knew you, knew your mother, and all of them couldn't even say a word in your defense, because we all had a fear of the guns hanging over us. And so for that reason, so many times I saw a little boy around my home kick an older man, just about 7 or 8 years old. And I asked my husband, but why should this happen? Why we can't take this gun from this little boy? Because he's a small boy. Why should he do that? But we couldn't do anything because he had a gun. And not thinking as an adult, he would have shot us for nothing. Mm-hmm. And so I just want to say, I don't have any question to ask you, but I just want to say sorry for what happened to you, through no fault of yours, and that I thank God that you had the strength to believe in His grace,
Yes.
and to know that you are sitting here today
By
because
His
His
grace.
grace
Yes.
took you through.
Mm-hmm.
And also to know that even though you've told us that you don't expect anything, you've done a great deal, because you gave voice to people who things happen to.
Yeah.
The Ghanaian girl,
Mm-hmm.
her son,
Mm-hmm.
the Nigerians,
Mm-hmm.
all of those people you met and who things happened to.
Mm-hmm.
Today you've told the Liberian people what happened to them, and we know some of the things that happened in the war through no fault of ours. So I want to say thank you for coming, and may you continue to use God
Mm-hmm.
as that medical and person for everything,
Yeah.
for all your needs,
Mm-hmm.
and may He continue to bless you
We
and
promise.
guide you.
We promise
Thank
He
you so
will.
much.
Mary. Yeah.
Originally, I had not planned to say anything because your story is too close to things that I experienced.
I know.
But all I can say is that believe that God's time is coming in this century,
Amen.
and everything will change.
Amen. Amen.
Mary,
Yeah.
what happened to your mother? The subject of your journey
Yeah.
that took you to Liberia.
She was taken away, but she walked the simple, she had to leave. When your family is arrested for treason, you gotta hide. My brother was in Kakata, he didn't know, he found his way to Bombi here. As soon as he got there that night, they told him, you gotta leave. Your sister is in prison. He said, no, she's in Sierra Leone. He said, I say she's in prison. How did she get from Sierra Leone to prison? So she had to walk to Kakata from Bombi Hills.
Is she still alive?
She is.
Where is she?
She was here for 7 years. She left sometimes last year.
Back in Liberia.
What's your mother's name?
Elizabeth Lahai.
I want to say your recommendations, I appreciate it by us, and will form a coaching part of our records. Thanks for giving us food for thought. Your statement plays a piece of the puzzle of our search history. Some of the names you call, like Oliver and the rest, are names that we heard throughout the 14 counties of Liberia that we visited, the political subdivisions. some of the names that you mentioned, like Dorothy, Gloria, the Dorothy who helped Gloria, Deacon Holmes, he's dead now. Yeah. Deacon Newville. I call them Deacon because I know them well, they're my Baptist people. Mr. Giddings are names that will go down in history because we have this thing auto tape, and as we speak it, even on the internet, so they too will know that someone appreciated what they did, and that somewhere people have attitude or gratitude, and not everyone is or ungrateful. You call the name of Agnes Taylor, and you confirmed it's the first time that she was in uniform, like a soldier. But also the manner in which you portray her for this moment. She could be like Esther.
Yes.
In that great book that you carry with you to lead you. Because as a woman, she saved you. As a Liberian, she came to your rescue when she was among the company of the so-called leaders considered the king. So history, at this point, we will remember and document that. The Ghana girl with her child, her parents may never know whether she's alive.
Never know.
But you've placed it, and now perhaps a relative or so will hear that since they haven't heard from her, she has not abandoned them, but we will document her too as someone who died during the period of the war. You can't remember the date, but you remember November 23rd. And we'll take judicial notice of the historical period. Thank you for participating in the TRC process. Thank God for making it possible for us to come to the diaspora, because many people, you did not participate in the war, but you suffer as a result of the war. Thank you for being a part of history.
You're welcome. And thank you too for having me.
Marie, thank you very much for coming. As you narrated your story, it was very difficult to hold back our emotions. As you know, we're all humans, and we have our emotions as well. You, in your testimony, through light, provided some insight on the fate of those two Nigerian journalists whose fate up till today has not been known. It was known that they were taken by the NPFL because they were at the Nigerian embassy when a crisis or when a fighting hit Monrovia. And it was known that they were taken by the NPFL, but nothing further was ever heard of them. And to hear that they were in prison, starving, and to learn that human beings, like those who were running those centers, were there under such subhuman conditions. Fortunately for you and your friend, you were able to get out. But just imagine that the leadership of the NPFL knew that people were being kept under subhuman conditions and permitted that to happen. It's something that, in my opinion, can never be excused. Again, I must commend you for your courage to come out to speak and speak to the hearts of the world, to unfold a picture that perhaps we never knew existed prior to your coming here. Thank you for your courage, and I hope you will have the strength to carry through. Thank you very much.
Kept saying Sam Dixon. Did you actually say Sam?
No, I just said Dixon.
Just said Dixon.
Maybe
Is
his
it-
name- Maybe his name was Sam, but I just know Connor Dixon.
But the name Bobby doesn't ring a bell or resonate.
Maybe